I got it.
All right. So everybody's on their best behavior here because this meeting is being recorded. All right. And I am going to go ahead and switch over. So welcome everybody. We have a couple of staff members here that are going to help. For those that don't know me, I am Christy Turner. I am Vice President of the Community Impact process here at the United Way, and I've been with United Way for 18 years now.
And I am Amber Hewitt, and I am manager of Community Impact, and I have been with United Way for almost 3 years now.
Wow.
And we also have Erin Bowman. She is going to be helping out. She's going to be keeping an eye on both the waiting room to let people in, and she's also going to be helping out with keeping an eye on the chat box for us while we are involved in the training to make sure that we don't miss out on any of y'all's awesome questions. So with that, we are going to go ahead and switch over to some of the housekeeping. I just want to get some of the housekeeping things out of the way. I have initially muted everybody from the get. We do want to kind of keep everybody on mute. So you started out muted. If you guys can go ahead and mute yourself. We want to keep everybody muted on default so that we won't be disrupted by latecomers or barking dogs or those Amazon packages being delivered. And since this is being recorded and posted to the website as our official training video, we ask that all questions that are being asked be typed into that chat box, and we are going to address them in the order that they're received. So, and everybody at this point should be very well familiar with Zoom, but we all know that that chat box is on our control panel. So if you will go ahead and type in your questions into the chat box, and then we will go ahead and ask the questions and answer them. And then if we have not answered the question to your or completed the answer, if you would go ahead and unmute yourself and go ahead and complete the question. So we've also turned off the video, and that way you can yawn through my training and not hurt my feelings. And when I'm talking or sharing my screen, if there is anything that you guys aren't able to hear or see, please let us know that in the chat box as well. And like I said, we are going to be recording this session and posting it onto our website. So we do ask that if you have staff that have any questions about the application process, we do ask that they first view the recorded training video to see if those questions were addressed first and foremost. And then if after this training, or if after they view the recorded training, while completing the application, if you have any additional questions, there are going to be 2 Q&A sessions via Zoom. One is scheduled for July 19th, and the other is scheduled for July 27th that are going to be available. Please go to our website to RSVP for those. And also remember that the Q&A session that was originally scheduled for July 9th has been canceled. We are also going to be providing during this training, we're going to be providing you those 3 training codes throughout this presentation. So make sure you have that pen and a piece of paper handy so that you're able to jot those training codes down and enter them into that software so that you can hit that final review and submit button and get those applications submitted. All right, so in a reminder email last night and first thing this morning, Amber had sent out, we had asked you to print out a hard copy of the application template that has all kinds of helpful hints in filling out the application. There was a CommunityForce walkthrough guide, And then there was a guide that was specific to adding a collaborator. So if you have not done so yet, if you could go ahead and print out those walkthroughs and have those kind of in front of you as we're going to be discussing those throughout this training, so that you could jot down your notes on those. It'd be really helpful. And this training is really to ensure that you're not leaving any points on that proverbial table. And many of the items that we're going to go over are really pulled directly from past applications or from applications that we've received from agencies in the past. So this is like real life things that we've received from agencies. And also remember that after completing our application, you're going to be able to really have everything you need to apply for any other grant really coming down the pike for the rest of the year. So keep all the documents and all the information that you have in a really convenient location. That way it makes it really easy for you to fill out all of your upcoming grant information or any other grants that you have for the upcoming year. All right, so with all of that housekeeping stuff out of the way, Amber, we're going to go ahead and dive in. Amber, you're up.
All right. So when you come to our grant site, which is the URL is https:// under uwlowcountrygrants.communityforce.com. You can go ahead and bookmark that if you haven't already, so that way it's easy to get to it when you need to. You're going to come to this screen and you're just going to come up right here in the right corner and click login. And the login information that you have is going to be the same as what it was in the pre-qualifications phase, the same email and password that you used then. If you have forgotten your password, just go ahead and click right here where it says forgot password, and an email will be sent to you so that you can reset your password. And once you log in, you're going to come up here to My Applications. Click on that. And we're going to go into your application this way. You're going to notice on my screen it's going to look differently than yours. Because I do have a couple added programs and applications that we have already begun. So yours is going to look different depending on what priority you are applying in. But you're going to want to go into your 2022 Community Impact Process, Basic Needs, or Economic Mobility, depending on which one you're going to be applying in. You're going to click that application, which is your pre-qualification application. But now when you come into it, you see you have the checklist, the intent to submit, but you now have a start application, which was not there before. We're going to click on that and only click start application one time. It's very important that you only do this one time so that you don't have several applications open and it gets very confusing to people. Once you get to, after you click the icon for start application, you're going to see this: congratulations, based on your responses to the checklist and intent to submit, you have been invited to submit a full application for further consideration. You're going to go right here where it says click here and click this link. This is going to bring you to your new application dashboard. When you scroll down here, you will see all of these new icons now. And this is where you're going to go into start your application and begin working on it. Once you finish a section, just make sure that you save and return to dashboard in order to go to the next section. Remember to do the save, so that way you're saving all of your work. Once you save and return to dashboard, you can also go back out and log out. And when you log out and log back in, you will log back in the same way. And Now, when you log in, you're going to go to your My Applications, and you're going to see all of these new applications that you have just started. So when you go back into it, you're going to click on the Basic Needs or Economic Mobility Impact Fund final application. You'll see here that we have 2 applications, and that's because we clicked Start Application more than one time.
Yes. So let me just jump in here real quick, Amber. So over the years, I have been contacted by agencies that have done this by accident. So Amber had stated that when you are, let me grab control of the screen, Amber. When you are on that start application, you are only going to click on that start application one time. Because what has happened in the past is agencies have clicked on that start application more than one time, and they have went in and done some work in the application, and then they have backed out, and then when they came back in, they clicked on the start application tab again. And they've called me frantic saying, Christy, I've spent 5 hours in this application and I went back in and none of my work was saved. And then when they go to, when I go in and click on their My Applications tab, what I see is they might have 5 or 6 applications open. And what'll happen is when I click on one of them, I'll go to the thing and I'll see 0, 0, 0, 0, and then I'll go to the other one and I'll click on it. And then I'll see the one with the 80%. So this is the one that they had done the 5 hours worth of work on. So be careful with that. The click to start new application. Only click on that one time. Otherwise, that's what's gonna happen. When you go to the My Applications tab, you're gonna have several different applications open, and that might happen to you. So just be careful about that.
Okay, so that being said, like Christy said, when you go back, if you log out and you come back in, if you see that start application down here again, if you see this, you're in the wrong application. So you're gonna want to back out of it again. Go back to My Applications, and we're going to click on the Basic Needs Impact Fund final application. And you'll see all of your information, your icons again to start your application. And just a side note to remember, there's a Save Your Work As You Go button that is in your application. There's the save button, and you want to save often. There is an auto save right here in this corner. You'll see every 10 minutes it does automatically save it, but we still suggest that you go ahead and after you have put some of your information in, come back down here and save. You don't have to return to dashboard if you're still working, but just save it every once in a while. So that way you are double positive that you're not going to lose any of the work that you are completing. And if you need to step away for a moment, your page will sign out if it remains idle for 20 minutes. It'll automatically sign you out. It is set to save your work, but it may not. You know, it's technology, so you don't always want to trust technology, unfortunately. So you want to go ahead and make sure to save before you walk away. And then you can always, throughout the application, when you're starting things, you can always go in and do some of the work and then come back out and save it and come back later on. You don't have to do the application all at one time when you're in the process of working on it, because it's a lot of information you're going to be putting in there. So the next thing that I want to go over with you is, because we know that you have many staff members or board members that are going to be helping you with your application, we're going to go ahead and show you how to add collaborators again, because you are going to have to add collaborators once again, as you did previously in the pre-qualification. We're going to do that again. So on your login screen, when you log in, you're going to first go into your application, and you're going to click on this choose action. And again, we do have this, you do have this printout that you can print out and this walkthrough to show you how to do this. So when you're adding this, if you're having any difficulties, just refer back to this. It's step by step. It shows you exactly what to do. So click your add collaborator. And Diane, yes, when you're clicking on the application, one time per grant request. So if you have 3 programs that you are going to be submitting for, yes, you're going to want to do 3 different applications. So when you do your application in your program, make sure you put your program name. So that way you have, you know which programs you're working on and when. So once you get into the collaborators, you are going to see right here where these are the applicants that we already have in our system. If you see the person that you are adding here, you're going to just go ahead and add them from here. If not, if you don't see their name there, you're going to click add a collaborator. We're going to put in the last name. And Erin is my guinea pig today. I'm going to use her. And there's no records found. So then you're going to click this add user and type in her information in here. Whoops. And also you see here this include in communications. You're going to want to click on that if you want them to get all of our notifications from the system by clicking that, our emails, and then click add. And your collaborator was added successfully. Click OK. Now you see Erin's name here along with everybody else that you have already added. Now, the next step is you're going to want to assign sections. So whatever part of the application that Erin is going to be working on, you want to give her permission to do that. So we're going to have her work on the marketing and success stories. You just put the check mark by that, come over here, press select, and you can give her permission there and click save. And she will get an email saying that that invitation was sent to her, that she can now log in and she can begin working on the application. Once you assign the sections for everybody that you want to assign to, make sure to be in communication with them and let them know that you have assigned sections to them of the application so that they know that they need to go into the application and start on it. They will get an email to their email address that you put into the system that notifies them that they've been invited to assist you in filling out this application. Once you return to the collaborations, it'll show you down here at the bottom who all has permissions to do what part of the sections. So just check that. And if you need to add somebody else, you can go back in and add another collaborator or whatever you need to do. Once you get to the end, you will not be able to submit your application until all of your sections are completed. And just keep in mind that you're responsible for communicating with your collaborators in regards to completing their assigned sections to make sure that they're filling everything in and have the proper documentations. You'll always have access to it, and their dashboard will only show what they are assigned to. So it's not going to show the same as yours. They won't have all of these icons. If Erin only has the marketing, this is the only icon she's going to see. Once you have assigned everything and you've talked to them and they've completed it, you can still go in there and you can change things, you can add things, you can do whatever you need to do with that. But also keep in mind that so can they. If they have access to the section, they will be able to make changes. So before you do your final submit, make sure you review and make sure that nothing is incorrectly entered or the wrong information is put in there, or if you've changed something, make sure that it's still there.
Right. And if I could just add, let me go ahead and grab control really quick and go back to that collaborator section. So everybody should have already had, you should already have your board member, your board chair added to this, because they had to sign off on your pre-qualification checklist and intent to submit. So, so your board chair should already be added, but you will need to come back in here and provide your board chair with the authority and assign your board chair the authority for every section, so that way when your board chair signs in, they will see all of the different icons. So their dashboard will have all of the icons so that they can review the application and sign off on all of the sections at the very end. So let me go ahead and get back to our dashboard for that application final approval, so that when your board chair signs in, they will see the same dashboard that you see. All right, so.
Okay, so that concludes my portion for the moment, but at this moment, I need you to take out your pens and papers and write down our first code, which is 619. This is the first code you will enter into your application when you start to complete the application. 619 is the first code. And now I'm going to hand back to Christy so that she can continue on with training on the application on updated information.
We have a quick question from Diane.
Sure.
About whether or not collaborator rules can be updated later on.
Yes, I'm answering that in here now.
Yes. You can, at any point in time, you can add collaborators. So you don't have to go in at the very beginning. At any point in time, you can add a collaborator and or provide additional authorization for additional sections. All right, well, with that, I am going to go ahead and start with the organizational section. If everybody will get out that the application walkthrough that that Amber emailed, and I believe the first time you guys received a copy of this was on an email dated 6/21 from Amber, and this just has like little helpful hints that I created over the years. So in the text box where you would put answers, I had provided some little helpful hints in the boxes. Now, I am not going to go over verbatim all of this information. I'm actually going to, during this training, add to that. So I'm going to go ahead and start with that. So when we reached out to everybody and called everybody in reference to their eligibility email that y'all received, if you were told that you had to provide some updated information, The very first section, which is what we are here, right here, is this updated information section. This is where you would provide that information. So if you were told that you had some information that you needed to update, then this very first question, does this organization have any documents that were provided during the pre-qualification phase that need to be updated? You're going to click yes on that box right there. And then you're going to explain why the documents you provided in the pre-qualification phase needed to be updated. Please don't attach any documents without an explanation. And I always say that because we always want the reviewers to know what's happening, right? Informed reviewers are happy reviewers, and our goal is to always keep the reviewers happy. Happy reviewers always equal higher scoring applications. So if you attach any documents down here, you're going to want to provide the explanation as to why. So if you had filed an extension on your 990, you're going to attach your 990 here, and then you're just going to say filed an extension with the IRS for our 2020 990, which also required us to request an extension from the Secretary of State's office, and then attach your 990 here, and then your new registration or your updated registration letter, rather, right here. All right. So this question right here is a bit new. It's not new. We've always asked for your non-discrimination policy, but the wording is a bit new on how we're requesting it. And the wording is new to account for all of the advancements that have happened in the past year. But other than that, it's really the same. And what we're asking you to do is to cut and paste your non-discrimination policy, or if you have gone back to the drawing board and actually now have a racial equity policy or a diversity, equity, and inclusion policy, that's what we're asking you to cut and paste. For volunteers, you are no longer required to update your profile on our Get Connected website. I know that you guys are muted right now, but I can hear a sigh of relief from everybody. We did used to require you guys to go online and do that on our Get Connected website, but you guys have gotten much more savvy on recruiting your volunteers and your own websites and all of that kind of stuff. So, so we've done away with that requirement. And all the questions in reference to volunteers have really been removed except for this one question, but because we still want to know about your volunteer usage. And then we ask on your metrics document the number of volunteers. But we do want to know how your organization utilizes volunteers, or if you can't utilize volunteers, which we do know some of you guys are not able to utilize volunteers for a variety of reasons. Some of you guys require certification or advanced degrees, or some of you guys have some confidentiality issues that come into play. So whatever that reason might be, go ahead and put it on there to explain to the volunteer, or to explain to the reviewers why you might not be able to utilize volunteers. And then we go into our collaborations and coalitions. If you're submitting a funding request on a collaborative or coalition, you're going to click yes. If not, you're going to click no. Now the software has changed a little bit. There's been an update to the software, one that I don't particularly care for. Before, if you clicked on no here, all of these other questions in reference to collaboratives collapsed, and you didn't see them. They no longer collapse now, so I just want to give you guys a heads up on that, but they're not required. So if you are not submitting on a collaborative or coalition, the only thing that's required is for you to answer whether you're submitting on a collaborative or coalition. You're going to notice the little star here. It's the only thing that is required. If you're not submitting, then you can skip over all of the other questions. If you are submitting on a collaborative or coalition, we are going to want you to upload your MOA or MOU. Please remember that letters of support are not accepted. If you are sharing resources such as finances, knowledge, staff, we want to know that you have a formal MOU or MOA, just so that you know what to expect from the other organizations and vice versa. They know what they can expect from you guys.
Christy, we have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Phyllis is wondering if the notification was sent, would it increase the pre-qualification percentage?
I'm sorry? Repeat that
Phyllis
question?
is wondering if the notification is sent, would it increase the pre-qualification percentage?
If a notification was sent, I'm a little confused on that. So Phyllis, can you unmute yourself and maybe explain that question a bit further?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can.
The question, I might have typed it incorrectly, but if we were notified that we needed additional information, would the pre-qualification percentage go down? We were at 100% and now we're at 95%. Is that because we were notified we needed to update our information?
No, and that is a bit confusing. Your pre-qualification should not have went down. So I will look into that. Moving forward, you will be moving forward. You don't need to go backwards in the pre-qual. Any updated information needs to be attached to that first section. So we will just be moving forward. You will be updating information by attaching it in that organizational icon in that first section.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
We have one other question from Anne. She's wondering if we should send the same policy as the last application.
The same policy, the non-discrimination policy?
Yes, ma'am.
If that is your current policy, then yes. If you have not updated it, then that's what we're asking you to do. We, in that section, we are asking you to cut and paste your current non-discrimination policy. Absolutely. All right. Was that the two questions, Erin?
Oh, that was it for right now. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. So next we come to your fiscal year and your EIN. You guys know all about that. Those are basics, so I'm not going to go into those. All right. So your overhead percentage. Your overhead percentage, you guys are going to put in there the exact same percentage that you submitted for the pre-qual, unless you provided updated information. So if you attached a new 990, then you are going to put in here the new updated percentage. Does that make sense? So if you attach a new 990, then you are going to recalculate your overhead percentage based on your new 990. All right. All right, so next we are going down to our financial report review or audit. We understand that not all agencies are the same, and United Way funds a variety of agencies at all different budget levels. And we don't want to treat agencies the same either. So we have a kind of threshold. We've created a threshold for our agencies depending on the budget level. So if you are an agency with a budget, with an operational budget of up to $300,000, then we just require a financial report in a format approved by United Way and signed by at least 3 members of the agency's board. if your gross annual revenue is from $300,001 to $750,000, then we are requiring that a CPA to issue a review. And if you are $750,001 or above in your gross annual revenue, then we require an audit. And if an audit is required, please make sure that when you scan that audit, that the management letter is also included. And if there are any findings in that management letter, also include that action plan if any deficiencies were found in that management letter. And that could be as simple as the board minutes where your board had discussed the findings in the management letter and what you guys were going to do to rectify those findings. Are there any questions about that? Okay, I don't see, let's see. I don't see any, so, and I don't hear Aaron breaking in, so I'm going to keep on walking here. All right, so now we get to the budget, the organizational budget. The first thing we do is we provide the opportunity, we give you an essay box right here to explain any unusual or distinctive characteristics of your agency's accounting practices that you wish to explain to the program reviewers, because what we want is to give you the opportunity to kind of put your budget into context for them. That's gonna be right here. We give you 300 words to kind of put your budget into context. And this is new. I did say this year that if there are significant variances between the current and proposed fiscal years, since we have seen every year at the budget discussions, every year, if there is a significant variance, and significant variance is usually 10% or greater, right? So if you have a variance of 10% or greater between your current budget and your proposed budget, you're going to want to go ahead and explain that in this narrative right here, because it's going to come, the question's going to get asked at the site visit. So you might as well go ahead and let the reviewers know ahead of time. And so go ahead and do that. And the budget, when we go down and look at it, each line item is numbered. So go ahead and make sure that when you're explaining those variances that you put the line item. Line item number 4, you're gonna see a 30% increase. Here's why. Once again, anytime that the explanation is provided in advance or you put that into context, the reviewer is like, oh, completely makes sense. Great. And they can move on. Anytime you make them break out a calculator or make them kind of get through, tease out the information, that's when the score, we tend to see scores going down. So utilize this to your advantage and put that budget into context. All right, so we provide you the template for the organizational budget. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. I'm going to pull that up. And let me just make sure that I am sharing this screen. So can everybody see the budget?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So the first thing I'm going to say is that I get a lot of frantic calls from agencies saying, I pulled up the template and it's not letting me enter any information into the template. The very first thing y'all need to do is click on this enable editing up at the top in that yellow ribbon. It won't let you enter any information before you do that, okay? And the other thing I'm going to tell you, make sure the first thing you do is go ahead and put your agency name in the top. because our reviewers are looking at a lot of budgets. So make sure we know which budget belongs to you guys. Believe it or not, we get a lot of budgets with no names at the top of them, and it makes it very confusing to figure out which budget belongs to who. So just go ahead, very first thing, as soon as you pull that up, go ahead and put your name at the top of it and save it. All right, so the next thing you're going to do is you're going to put your fiscal year, and that's the current budget is what you guys are working on right now, working with right now. So if you, let's just say your fiscal year doesn't begin until September. If your fiscal year doesn't begin until September, then you're still working on your then you're still in your 2019 2020 fiscal year. And then you would put over here the 2020, 2021. All right. Let me see. Right here in the special events column, this is one of the only, this column, and then I'll get to the next column, is one of the only columns that you don't need to kind of tease out details in, because we actually have a special events fundraising report that we're going to get to in a couple of minutes. So you just need to actually pull out the information from that report, but you don't need to tease out the details in this report. But underneath, in line item 5 and 6, you're going to want to actually tease out the details. You don't want to lump things together. You do want to let the reviewers know the details, because in this area, the more you can show that you are diversified in your funding streams, the better. So you want to actually add and break out the different governmental grants that you're receiving and the non-governmental grants that you're receiving. And you can actually go ahead and add lines in here and just insert as many lines as you need to provide those details. And one of the reasons why you want to provide the details is to show that you are diversified in your funding streams. But another reason why you want to make sure that you are breaking out and showing the details is that a lot of really good suggestions come out during that site visit. And when you break out those details, you know, our reviewers are members of our community and living in our community, and they have a lot of great suggestions. You know, they might live in, let's say, Palmetto Bluff or Dawtaw, or, you know, their community might have a foundation where they provide grants, and they might not see their foundation, you know, your organization might fit perfectly within their foundation and what their foundation likes to do and likes to fund. And they might not see their foundation under the non-governmental grants. And they might say, oh, well, you know, I don't see Palmetto Bluff under here. You guys should really approach us because you are right in line with what we like to fund. So make sure that you provide those details underneath it here. And once again, you just right click, insert, add your lines to provide those details. All right, so the first page is going to give you your revenue. I'm going to say any gray box you see, you are not able to click on. Those cells are protected, and we protect them for your own good because they have formatting in them, and we don't want the formatting to get replaced or to get messed up. So you are not able to do that. But if you see, when I add dollar values, it's going to automatically calculate for you. Please know that you guys must use this template. We have had agencies try to recreate this over the years or provide their own budgets and their own formats. Our reviewers have to review a lot of different applications, and we need to know that our reviewers are seeing apples to apples and oranges to oranges with all of the different programs. So we require that all of the agencies and all of the programs submit the budgets in this format. We will not accept budgets that are not in this format or not submitted in this format. And once you fill in all this information, you will be required to save it as a PDF. So the first page is all your revenue, and then we go into all of your expenses of the agency, and these are all just basic expenses of the organization. Line item 24 tends to give some people some issues, so I'm going to go over that. So this is and remember, we're at the organizational budget level right now. So this is assistance to individuals, and this is actual assistance that is provided. So if you are a basic needs organization, you might have food and rental assistance and utility assistance that you provide. And this is the actual dollar amount that you have budgeted to provide. So your organization might spend $10,000 or might have budgeted $10,000 to spend on food to assist individuals, and might have $20,000 for rental assistance, and might have $20,000 for utility assistance. And that's what you would do for that. Now, please keep in mind that these are actual expenses. These are actual dollars that you're providing out to your clients. This isn't in kind, but actual dollars. And then at the bottom, you're going to see your surplus or deficit because it automatically calculates. Please know that the reviewers prefer zero-based budgets. They're not required, but they do prefer zero-based budgets because we don't go into our year saying, oh, well, we're at a $30,000 deficit. We'll just kind of see how things wash out. We have a plan going into it if we're at a $30,000 deficit, right? We know that either we're gonna go into our reserves, or B, we're going to have that special fundraising event and start getting our marketing and communications department working on that special event. So my suggestion would be to go ahead and show it, right? If your plan is to pull, the $50,000 that we're currently showing a deficit, if your plan is to pull that from reserves, then my suggestion would be to go back up to line item 12 under other program revenue and put reserves in here and put that $50,000 so that at the bottom of your budget, you're back to your zero-based budget, because that's kind of what the reviewers like to see. They like to know that you have a plan of what you're going to be doing. Agencies in the past have tended to like to think that showing a deficit is going to illustrate need of the grant, but make sure that sometimes that kind of comes back to bite you. So, but if you want to do that, that is completely up to you. I'm not telling you not to do that. But if that is kind of how you're going to do it, I would absolutely recommend that you put that in the narrative about the need and say, and describe. So I know that we're showing a deficit in our budget. Our plan is to. So that they at least know that you're not just walking in thinking, oh, well, I don't know, we're still unsure of how we're going to make up this deficit. All right. Let me Get back to the application. So does everybody see the application again?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Back to the application. So after you fill out your organizational budget template, you're going to save it as a PDF and you're going to upload it right here. I know that it doesn't, I didn't upload it. I didn't upload that template. I uploaded the CI agency timeline here. I just uploaded a document so that it shows that there's a document uploaded here. But it does tell you that it needs to be PDF. Please keep in mind, after you save it as a PDF, please open that PDF and look at it to make sure that it is a viewable PDF. We have uploaded or opened those documents and they have been teeny tiny or really big, and reviewers haven't been able to read it because it has been too big or too small. So make sure that you as the executive director, make sure that you are opening these documents that are attached to make sure that they are viewable to the reviewers, okay?
Christy, we have a
Yes.
question from Diane. She's
Sure.
wondering why the boxes that you filled in for examples turned gray after you deleted them.
She is wondering why the boxes that I
Filled in when you were doing the examples, after you deleted the information, they turned gray.
In your budget spreadsheet, in the Excel sheet template.
I didn't see that happening. It's probably because it was the protected, was it because it was the protected cell? The only gray cells are the protected cells in that template. Let me go back to that. Let me pull it back up. And go back to my screen sharing. Hold on one second, y'all. Okay, so here we are back onto here. So the only cells that are gray are protected because they have the formatting in them. So
Diane's added that when you typed it in, for at least temporarily, it became gray in the income section.
okay, let's go back to the income. So that's at other program revenue, we had reserves. And I had put that 50,000. Oh. Well, it's not doing it now. I don't know, Diane. The only cells that should be gray are the ones that are protected. So I can't reproduce it. It's not doing it now.
May just be a quirk of the formatting.
Yep. So we shall move on. And let's go back to the screen sharing, back to, okay. All righty. So in this box, please explain any budget shortfalls or surpluses. What I'm going to, the only thing that I'm really going to say about that is that don't put, we don't expect any. We've received a couple of applications that just had, well, we're not expecting any. The reviewers really want to know what you would do if, not whether you are expecting. So let them know, our policy is to handle any shortfalls up to $25,000 through our reserve account, or any overages would be, or any surpluses would be reinvested back into program, or allow us to serve extra clients, or whatever the case might be. Let me just circle back around. I forgot one of my notes in reference to the budget. Every year, I am asked in reference to the operational budget why organizations can't show depreciation in the budget. Depreciation should not be shown in an operational budget, and that is because depreciation is not an actual expense. And in an operational budget, it inflates the cost of the program. So where you're going to see the depreciation costs, those costs are going to be reflected in the other financial documents that we're going to get to in a minute. The depreciation costs are going to be shown in the other financial documents, the statement of financial activity and the balance sheets. And the reviewers are instructed that the operational budgets might not tie back directly to the financials provided. So they are trained that they can't just smack that operational budget on top of those financials. So are there any questions about depreciation and why you can't, why we ask you not to show it in this operational budget? Okay. All right, so special events and fundraising report. I had told you we had spoken about line item number 4, and I had said, well, that's the only time that that you don't need to kind of tease out the details. And that is because we actually have a specific form for that. So let me go to that report here. And can everybody see the special events and fundraising report?
Yes.
Yeah? Perfect. All right. Once again, you've got to click on that enable editing before you could put anything in here. Make sure you go up, type your organization's name first and foremost. And then right down here, you're going to see in red, line 4 and line 26. So line 4, this amount that you see right above the line 4, that's what you're going to put. The projected total revenue, the amount in gray, that's what you're going to put in your line item number 4. In your current budget, and this is line item 4 in your proposed budget. This is line 26 because this is going to be your projected expenses for your fundraising, and this is your projected expenses for your proposed budget. So what we ask is that you provide, and this gives you the details of all of your special events and fundraising that you're doing for your current and your proposed. And we have number of staff involved, number of volunteers, how much it's going to cost you, how much revenue you're going to generate, how much it's going to cost you, and then what your net profit is going to be. All right. So you would download that right there. You'd fill it out. You would save it as a PDF and then upload it right here. All right. So I'm not going to go, and since the balance sheet and the statement of financial activity are pretty basic financial documents, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail other than to say that number 1, the documents need to be your most recent. They need to be board approved. I always get, every year I get a call from an agency saying, well, you know, I have, you know, we just ran one, but my board doesn't meet for another 2 months. So which one do you want? Do you want the one that I have that we just ran, or do you want the board approved? I always want the one that was approved by your board. I never want to see something, especially financial documents. I really do not want you to attach a financial document that has not been approved or not been run through your board of directors. So I want to see your most recent board approved documents. And those two documents should tie back to each other in timing and the information. And since we do have Serena Miles on the line here, she is in the Zoom meeting with us, and she is our director of finance. She's with us today. Are there any specific questions about these documents that we could answer during this training?
We actually have a few questions right now.
Wonderful. So Serena, can you unmute yourself and just say hi to everybody?
Hello, everyone.
And I'm going to give the floor to Serena. So Erin, could you ask her the questions?
I'm not sure if these are going to be you or Serena questions, but
okay, so go ahead and ask, and we'll tag team.
Okay, awesome. We've been asked that where would in-kind assistance go if it's not supposed to be included on that budget?
Serena, do you want to handle that?
Well, normally for us, we do put in kind. Well, I don't know if you want to see it, Christy, because we don't usually put in the budget, but it is noted in our financials.
Correct.
So if you want to like note it somewhere, if you have I don't know if your application process has some way that you can note where you receive or how much you receive for in-kind donations.
Right.
That would be the best.
Yeah. So
to handle that.
I agree with Serena. So in an operational budget, in a lot of cases, it's not reflected in an operational budget. But I would absolutely make sure you put it in that narrative, because what that in-kind support does is show community support of your program. So I would absolutely make sure that it's shown in the narrative. Who was that question from, by the way, Erin?
That one was from Diane.
Okay, so Diane, you're a bit unique in the fact because that in-kind donation, I believe, is in reference to your thrift store. So we will take that offline because that is a bit unique in the fact that you have a large money generating, I mean, that your thrift store generates a lot of money that then in turn supports your programs. So we will have to take that offline. We will call you about that. Serena and I will call you about that. So let's move on to the next question.
We also have a question from Lily, well, more of a clarification. She's saying special events are defined as agency driven and not third party, right?
That is a great question. So yes, special events are agency driven. Most of the time, third party events are going to be, you're going to find third party events under line item 3 under that contributions, because if a third party is doing it for you, then it's almost like it's a contribution to, they're doing all the work and then contributing to your organization. But if you're kind of doing the work, then you're going to put it under line item number 4 as a special event revenue. Does that answer your question, Lily? Or clarify, rather?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Perfect. Next.
That's it for the moment.
Wonderful. So were there any specific questions on the statement of financial activity or balance sheet while we have our wonderful Serena with us?
This is Lily again. We're creating a budget for the next year. And, what if you're going to add staff? You're creating the budget based on the way you are right now. So, I mean, if things change and let's say Second Helpings hires 2 additional people, we're not going to be penalized because we didn't include that because we haven't made that decision yet.
Absolutely not, Lily. I mean, we know, when you submit your applications, there has to be a cutoff point, right? And we know that these things are living, breathing documents, right? We're always changing. Things always happen. So absolutely not. You would not be penalized in any form or fashion. We have to live with the times, and things are always changing for us. So there has to be a cutoff point, and so no, we would not be penalizing you in any form or fashion.
Christy,
Yes.
Diane clarified her question.
Okay.
She wants to know in-kind donations from like Second Helpings or during Christmas with like the toys and things like that. Where do those donations go?
So in kind for like the Toys for Tots and any in kind for the Christmas program, you could bring it in under that could be other program revenue or special events revenue. Even like if it's like the Christmas I'd probably put the Christmas stuff under special events revenue, and then back it out under, if you bring it in under special events revenue, you're going to want to back it out under special events expenses. But you could also bring it in under line item 12, other program revenue, and then back it out under 28 or 27 under other disbursements or other program expenses.
What about the food from Second Helpings?
Food from Second Helpings.
That could still be in the program, no?
Yeah, that could be under program. Diane, let's take that offline as well, because I'm gonna have to talk to you about that. All right, are there other questions? All right.
I have a question.
Sure.
This is Phyllis. And this is unique to our organization, so it may need to be offline, but on the revenue, we receive funding by a contract with DJJ. So that would be listed under the governmental revenue?
Absolutely.
Governmental fees?
Yeah, I would think that would be line item 5.
With that in mind, then would I need to attach the contract with DJJ as a collaborative partnership?
I would definitely be, well, that would be completely up to you. That is something that you would have to decide whether you are applying as a collaborative or whether you are applying as AMI.
Okay.
So that is completely up to you as to how you are applying.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. All right. So reserve account. Once again, in the simplest terms, everybody should have them. We're coming out of a year where we probably all used them, right? The pandemic, it was great for those of us that had them. It was a blessing. So we have always asked about reserve accounts, but we did kind of add a few questions in reference to reserve accounts, given what we are coming out of. So we do ask whether you have one. We ask whether, if you do not have one, if you have plans to create one. we also have whether your reserve account was impacted by the pandemic, and if it was, how it was impacted, and how much you have in your reserve account. And if the word reserve is not used as the name on the account in your financial documents, what it is, what you call it, because we all call it different things. And once again, we don't want to make the reviewers have to kind of tease out the information. So go ahead and provide and let them know exactly exactly what it is. All right, so we went over the reserves, and really quick, while I'm kind of looking at these text boxes, I just want to give you guys or show you guys something that's really cool. You can resize these text boxes, and that also helps out with the reviewers. So if you see this little arrow down here, you can just click it and drag it. So if you're using 500 words, which is what this max is, go ahead and click it and drag it so that all of the words are actually showing. That way it's easier for the reviewers to read it, so that all the words, so that they're not having to scroll. Because if it's really small, then you're going to see a scroll box over here, and they're going to have to scroll through. So go ahead and grab it and make sure that all of your words are visible. Something else, just a helpful hint, I would go ahead and this goes back to what I said during our housekeeping with the, hey, after you do this application, you're going to have all the information you need for all of your other grants for this year. All of these text boxes, all of these essay boxes, I would suggest personally that you are typing this stuff up in Word and saving it in Word and doing spell check. Because one thing that we see is misspellings on these applications, and misspellings just immediately bias the reviewers as to the quality of the application. So go ahead and what I would do is go ahead and type up your narratives in Word, run your spell check, do your word count in Word, and then copy and paste your stuff into the software. That way you have it in a Word document so that you have it for any other grant that you're working on. Because the things that we're asking you in this, you could cut and paste into your other grants because you've already done the hard work. So use the Word document for all your other stuff. All right. And we're walking. So we are going to save. Once again, Amber said, just get into the habit of saving. So we're done with our organizational icons. So we're going to save and return to the dashboard. We're going to go into our program information. So you got your program name. This is going to be the same name that you guys filled out in your pre-qual portion in your intent to submit. You've got your overall program budget. This should be the same amount that you're going to find on your line item number 29 in your program budget. We're going to ask you how much you're asking for the grant. This is the amount, and I get this question, so we put it in here. This is the amount your organization is requesting for the first year of the grant. And now keep in mind that United Way funds in 2-year grant cycles. So the amount that you're asking for the first year is how much you are going to put in this box. So if you want $30,000 for your first year. And if you're awarded that, remember, we're a 2-year grant cycle, and you automatically know that there's that step down process, right? That 15% step down. So in year 2. So if you want $30,000 in that first year, then that's what you're going to put in this box right here. And then we ask what percentage of the overall program budget that this equals. All right, so now that percentage, if it is 30% or more, then you have to upload a sustainability program, because the United Way never wants to be the reason why service provision stops. So we need to know that at the end of the second year, that you have a sustainability plan in place to continue services, because our grant process is a competitive funding process. Now you guys have been creative, and I've seen you guys take it up to 29%, and that's okay. But if you hit that 30% mark, you have to upload that sustainability program. All right, so this question, just want to give you just a watch out here. Will this program accept partial funding? Be careful of how you answer this question. If you say no to this, and say that you ask for 30,000, and the reviewers only have or are only willing to provide 28,000 to fund your program, and you say no, you will not accept partial funding, and they only have 28,000 to give, or are only willing to give 28,000 to fund the program, and you say no to this, then it could result in 0 funding. Now, there are situations where you have to say, no, we can't accept partial funding. A situation could be if we had a situation where somebody was applying for a trailer for science. It was a science trailer, and the trailer itself cost $20,000. Well, without that trailer, they couldn't do the program. So they could not accept partial funding. So they had to select, no, we can't accept partial funding. So there are situations out there that you have to select no. You might say, no, we won't accept partial funding. Just be careful about this question right here. All right. And then if you were to receive a percentage of your funding, please explain how your program would be impacted. Don't just say that we would raise more money on this question. Your answer tells a story to the reviewer. Are you cutting services? Are you reducing the number of participants? Or do you feel so strongly about the outcomes of this program that you and your board are willing to go into reserves if you aren't funded fully? So your answer in this situation tells a story to the reviewers. So make sure you're descriptive here. All right, we have statement of need. I go over that. I give you some helpful hints in the walkthrough. I talk about program description. I go into the program participants. I talk about key stakeholders in that helpful walkthrough. We go into the innovation in the walkthrough, so I'm not going to go over that. Let's see. Number of people impacted by your program. So I do in the walkthrough give you some helpful hints on this as well, but I did just want to add that this particular question seemed to come up at each site visit. So we did provide a text box to kind of head that off at the pass. So let us know, how, provide that brief explanation of who you included, and the rationale as to why you feel that they were those indirect beneficiaries, that ripple effect of your program service provision. All right, so we have your current fiscal, that's impacted by your program and metrics. Let's see. So the impacted by the program and metrics on that outcomes document are different. So these numbers are probably won't be the same. So just keep that in mind. A lot of times I get that call, well, wait a minute, shouldn't these numbers be the same as the outcomes numbers? And no, they are different. So just keep that in mind.
Christy,
Yes, yes.
Phyllis wants to know if it's okay to use an estimate because they may not know how many family members may be impacted.
Yes, it is okay to use an estimate if you do not know exactly how many. It is best to find out, if you have the ability to ask the program participants, how many siblings or how many individuals are in the household. That is the best, but yes, you can use estimates. They have to be realistic though. All right. So we're walking, we're going through our program efficiency. There's nothing really that I think I need to address in that. I do give some helpful hints in the walkthrough in reference to the program efficiency. I do want to say that as in the walkthrough that I state, this is not the place to be creative for that creative accounting, which does tend to happen. Don't make that reviewer break out the calculator, right? This is not the place to try to get that program efficiency because you think that the number of sessions is going to look better as opposed to the cost of the child, because to try to get it to that lowest number possible, because just human nature, the reviewers want to know. Usually human nature dictates that we try to bring it back to a person, to an individual. So, and that's what happens time and time again, is when you try to get creative in this section, the reviewers break out that calculator and they start punching in those numbers to try to get it back to a person or to a more realistic measurement or for program efficiency. So once that starts happening, then they start wondering, well, why did they tease it out that way?
Christy, we have another quick question.
Absolutely.
Leela says that today starts their fiscal year, so she wants to know if she'll be using information from July 20th from July 2020 to June 2021.
Wow. So today, July 1st. So that is very interesting. So I guess that would be Serena. Are you still on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
So did you hear that question? Their fiscal year starts today. And all of our budgeting and stuff, we have the current year, and then we ask for the proposed year, which is the year that the grant really starts, because we release funding the following April. And they are asking what year they should start, what year they should use, whether they should start with the new fiscal year and then the proposed, or use their last fiscal year and then this fiscal year as the proposed.
I would say
suggestion?
I would say their last fiscal year. as their fiscal year, and then this fiscal year is their proposed, because you're gonna have your budget and everything for this year.
Right.
But all of your documentation, your auditing on 990s and all that stuff will most likely be based on last year.
That would be my recommendation as well.
Anne, is that helpful for you as well? Anne was saying that her fiscal year begins on 1/1. So would the same information apply to her?
No, because well, that's a calendar year, which is normal.
I think that's it for the moment. Thank you.
All right. All right. So when it comes to matching match funding, some of you guys are able to draw down on federal or state grants. And a lot of those federal or state grants have match funding available or required even. A federal grant might provide a $200,000 grant, but requires that there's a 10% local match. And if that's the case, that's what this question right here is in reference to. So if you are one of those organizations, we ask, is that the case? Yes or no? If yes, the amount of the drawdown and what amount is required of local match. We like to know if you guys are able to leverage a local grant to draw down federal or state dollars. We want to know that. We love to know that type of information. And if that's the case, this is where you would put that information. All right, so in the program budget information is going to be the exact same information, really, as the organizational information. So in the walkthrough, you're going to notice that I have, please see comments under organizational budget, right? So a lot of the same kind of helpful hints are the same. The only thing that I would say is that that I see happening in applications is that you will never see a number in the program budget that is larger than the corresponding line item in the organizational budget, right? So you might see the same number if every penny is going to this particular program, but never more. And a lot of times we will get program budgets, and I'm just going to throw like line item number 4 is that special events revenue, right? So a lot of times we will get program budgets that will have, say, $100,000 in on line item number 4 for a program fundraising revenue generated. And then we flip to that same corresponding line item in the organizational budget, and it's only $50,000. That would never be the case because the program budget is a subset of the organizational budget. So just keep that in mind. You were never going to see a number higher in your program budget than what it is in your organizational budget. Are there any questions about that? Okay. So all of these, it's the same. I'm just going to say ditto, 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 ditto. You have your program budget template. The program budget template looks exactly like the organizational template, except for the only difference, and I'm going to go ahead and pull it up, but the only difference on this is that at the top, you not only fill out your organization's name, but you put the program name here as well. And you might be submitting multiple programs. So make sure that you put the program name We have had, once again, we've had organizations who do not put the program name, and it gets really confusing, especially if you're submitting multiple programs. So make sure that as soon as you pull this up, you click on that enable editing, and that the first thing you're doing is putting your organization name and the program name and filling that out. Okay, so the next thing is a staff salaries form. I'm going to pull that up because this tends to give people some difficulties. So I want to make sure, for whatever reason, that we go over this. I don't know why this gives people difficulties, but I want to pull it up. Can everybody see this form? Amber?
Yes.
All right. So once again, fill out your organization, the program name up top. This is the staff salaries specific to your to the program for which you are submitting funding. And you are allowed to group salaries if you have multiple staff fulfilling the same role for roughly the same pay. So if you have a summer camp and you have 12 camp counselors and they're all, you know, roughly getting the same amount of pay, you could put on here camp counselors 12 FTEs if they're all full-time equivalents, and how much you're paying them. So you could group them if they are all relatively the same same role and same pay. Now, FTE stands for full-time equivalent. So you're never going to have on here more than one FTE unless you're grouping multiple people, okay? And so it's going to be one FTE, and that is one person that works roughly 40 hours a week. And you would only have one FTE if they spend all 40 hours in this program. So if not, if they are not spending all 40 hours in this program, then they're not going to be one FTE on this worksheet. You're going to see a decimal, just like you see in the example, the executive director, right? So you see the executive director, her full-time equivalent is 0.325 because she's only spending about 13 hours of her work week in this particular program. So for that, and if she's making $50,000 a annual salary, then the wages that are dedicated to this program, if she's only spending 13 hours in this program, her full-time equivalent for this program is 0.325, and $16,250 worth of wages are dedicated to this program. And according to what this is showing, unfortunately, she is not expected to get a cost of living increase either from the current budget to the proposed budget. So I am so sorry for this executive director, but she gets no raise this year. So are there any questions about this? Because this does tend to give individuals some difficulties. So are there any questions that I could answer about this form?
Chrissy, I'm not receiving any.
All right, well, we are going to move on. We're going to keep walking. All right, so you would save that as the PDF and attach it right there. And then we would save and return to our dashboard. All right, so our goals, outcomes, and indicators, we are now moving on. So here, right here, we have, this is really kind of the program, the last icon, and then this icon is kind of the meat and potatoes, right? Because you know, United Way is outcomes-based funding. So these two icons are our meat and potatoes. So the first one, we ask you to upload your tool. So our goal is to verify the ability of your tool to track the appropriate data for the outcomes and goals that you have selected on the metrics document, which we're going to get to. If you use and I put this comment in here because we got a lot of questions. A lot of y'all had called and said, well, you know, Christy, we use some proprietary software. We have this internal database, and I can't share the database because the data in it is confidential. Well, what you can do is just, you know, use the snippet tool or do a screenshot, and you can exclude any sensitive or confidential information. And then you can just scan and upload a copy of that tool that you're going to be using to measure the impact of your program. And if you guys have more than one tool used, then just scan it together and upload it as one document. What we're really, like I said, what we're doing by asking you to upload your tool is we're just looking to make sure that you have the ability to track the data, the appropriate data to track the outcomes that you're saying you're going to be able to track on the metrics document. And then right here in this text box, we're asking you to explain the process that's going to be used for the implementation of your tool. And one of the reasons, you know, I've had individuals ask, well, you know, why? You know, why do you need us to explain the process? And one of the situations is, you know, you could have the best tool ever out there. You could have the absolute best survey. And let's just use a food, since it's basic needs. Basic needs is one of our priorities this year. Let's just say you have the absolute best survey ever for food insecurity of your clients. However, you are putting that survey out, and your board has determined that you are going to ask all of your individuals, all your clients, to fill out this survey the first week of the month, every month. That's when you're going to implement your data measurement tool. And that's what you put in here. Well, if I read that, then that's when I might go back to y'all and say, well, is that really the best time to implement a food insecurity survey, given the fact that SNAP benefits are provided at the beginning of the month? Wouldn't it be better if that survey be asked at mid-month or even at the end of the month when those benefits have been utilized? So that's one of the reasons why we ask for an explanation of the process. You know, when are you going to implement that data tool? You know, when are you going to be asking those survey questions, or when are you going to be tracking that data? So that's the reason why we ask you in the narrative to not only provide the tool that you're going to use, but explain the process, when you're going to implement that process and use that data tool. All right, so, and then right here, we provide the metrics. So here's the document. I'm going to pull it up and share it. So, all right, so for my organizations who have walked this path with me over the years, you're going to notice that this looks just a little bit different. We have kind of tweaked our metrics document, so it does look a bit different here. We color coded the instructions, so that's a bit different. We did tweak some of the metrics. So over the years, we have just massaged what we have requested y'all to track, but have not made any big significant changes to the data. And if you guys remember, we asked you guys, our partner agencies, our subject matter experts, to help us create this data. What in the real world is doable, what data points we could track that wouldn't be too arduous. So what you're going to notice is, and I had mentioned way back when we were at the very beginning of the application, we had spoken about the volunteers. So we did move that number of volunteers off of the application. We moved it on here. You're going to see it right here. So we want to know the total number of volunteers supporting the basic needs program that you're seeking funding for. So we put it right here. Every individual is going to fill out this box right here, no matter what goal you are applying for. So please keep that in mind. So this isn't just for goal number 1. Any individual, any organization applying needs to fill that box out. So you're going to see it here. You're going to see it under goal number 2. Something that's new, because we got some feedback from you as agencies. Y'all said that you wanted a space to explain your outcomes, that there was no place on the application that you had to kind of talk to the reviewers about those outcomes numbers. So this year we provided you a place, a narrative that you could kind of put those numbers into context. So right there is the spot that you guys can do that. All right. And then let's go ahead and go back up. Something else that you're also going to notice is that the data points are shaded. They're colored. They're color coded. And before you guys got to pick and choose which data points you were going to track. You didn't have to track all of the outcomes. You had to track all of the outcomes that were relevant to your program. So that still is the case. We still require you to track all of the outcomes that are relevant to your program. But now we do, the data points are in sets, if that makes sense. So if you select this grouping right here, this light blue grouping, you are going to track all 3 of these. You need to be able to provide all 3 of these numbers because they are a data set. And you're going to notice that this one right here is the numerator, this one right here is the denominator, and that one is the percentage. So if you select this, you need to be able to provide all 3 numbers. You'll see this one right here, a medium blue, there's only one. And so that is its own data set. This right here is a data set. This here is a data set. So, and if you go up to the instructions, you're going to place an X next to the goal in the yellow box, and you can only select one goal per program. Okay, and some of your programs, you might be addressing 2 of these goals, but you are going to select the goal that your program best addresses. So you're going to put that X out there. And then you are going to place an X next to all of the outcomes in the green boxes that your program addresses. And you can select multiple of those. So you might be doing that one, and that one. And if you're doing multiple outcomes, then you are going to be tracking multiple, you're going to be giving us multiple subsets, okay, of the key performance indicator. So you would, if you have 2 X's out here, you are going to be doing this and this. Or if, let me take that out, say you're doing that and that, then you would be doing those, because those are the 3 for that outcome, and you would either be doing this grouping or this grouping, or both, who knows? You might be doing all of these. So when you provide this back, you would actually be putting the numbers right here. So this might be 123 that are receiving assistance to avoid. You might have 234 that are applying, and then you would divide those to come up with the percentage, and you put the percentage in there. Are there any questions about filling out this document? So now this document right here, I'm going to go back to my application. This document right here is the only document that you guys are going to actually upload in Excel. You are not going to convert this to a PDF. You are going to keep this in the Excel format. It's the only document that you are going to keep in Excel. Any questions about that document?
Looks like everybody's okay.
Awesome. That makes me happy because I am a metrics geek. So if there are no questions on the metrics, that makes me so happy. All right, so moving on to the marketing section. All right, so if you guys remember back in May, I believe, at the end of May, I think, we sent out an email letting you know that we know that this has been a stumbling block for some of y'all to get your success stories and those pictures in. So we wanted to send out that the information early and the reminder that this is going to be required early, so that you guys had an extra month, which double the time, to obtain this information. So now this particular thing, adding your logo, is brand new. But we have this box here. We want you to just upload your logo right here for us, so that we have all of your marketing stuff in one place. So if you would, and you could use an image or a PDF, however is most convenient for you guys to upload your logo. And then we work into our success stories right here. There is right here, I am gonna open this up and share. This is, you might already have an agency specific media release form, but this release form right here is specific to allow both you as the primary organization and United Way of the Low Country to utilize the information. So we do ask that you use this right here when you are obtaining permission. So we include it on there. So you can download it right there. We ask you to attach that release of information. We ask you to share one story. You have 500 words. That could be either a narrative. Some of you guys have shared stories from participants. from the kids. Some of you guys have shared stories from the parents, letters from the parents. So you guys have been really creative in the story. But bottom line, this is your your opportunity to tug at the heartstrings of the reviewers, right? So this whole application up to this point has been our attempt to make a subjective process largely quantifiable, right? This right now is your ability to tug at our reviewers' heartstrings, to make them cry. And you guys need to use this opportunity, use these stories, get to the heart of what you guys do. But make sure that the story that you're telling circles back to the program and the outcomes for which you're applying for. I know that sounds really funny, but sometimes that is not always the case. Some of y'all have given us a story that is awesome, but has nothing to do with the outcomes that you're applying for. These stories and these pictures that we're asking you for, this is how we, one of our jobs is to raise money to help support your programs. And this is part of how we do that. And now that being said, if you are not selected for funding, of course, we are not going to use these photos or stories. But these stories and these photos are how our marketing and communications department help us raise awareness about all the great things that you guys are out there doing in the community to help us raise the funds so that we can support your programs. And once again, it is your time to really tug at the heartstrings of the reviewers to let them know, why they need to provide you with the funding that you're requesting for this program. So you would put your story here. You have 500 words. I know that's not a whole lot, but we try to give you enough to where you can make that happen. And then you have the option. There are two uploads, so you have the option to upload 2 photos. We do want at least 1 photo, right? Because a photo tells 1,000 words. We can tell a story, but it always helps to have that photo. We know that some of you guys have some confidentiality issues, but you guys can be creative, right? You can put that smiley face over top of that child's face. You can have the teacher facing the camera and the backs of the children. You can, there's a variety of ways that you can kind of work around it. But we all know that one parent that will tell our story, that will go to bat for us. And that is your marketing and communication department's responsibility to, find that family that will sing your praises. We all have them. We all know who they are. And that's that person that you need to get to. That's the person that you need to ask to fill out that release of information for, to fill out this section. So are there any questions about this section right here?
Leela wants to know if they can do videos.
We do not have the ability to upload videos here. However, during the site visit, if your program rises to the top 12 or 7, depending on if you're a basic needs program and your program rises to the top 12 in the scoring, or if you are an economic mobility and rise to the top 7, then during the site visit, you will absolutely be able to share videos during the site visit. But for the application, no, it is photos and stories.
That's it for now from us.
All right. So now, final review. So I am going to go ahead and give you a code. I am remiss. I should have already given you a code. Hold on. Please hold. I've got to find the code in all of my papers here. Amber, are you with me?
Yes.
Do you have that
106.
code I was supposed to give?
106.
All right, so my code for the second one is 106. That's going to be the second code. So this is the application final approval. And this is where you would put those 3 codes in. Amber, when she wraps up, she is going to give you that 3rd code that you would put right here. And here is, once again, those electronic signatures for the executive director and for the board chair. The same that you guys did in the pre-qual phase. Now, there is something that I have to bring to y'all's attention because it has come to our attention that several organizations, several of the EDs are actually signing off for the board chairs. It's not the board chair that is going in and doing the quality control. Several of the executive directors are going in and actually just signing for the board chair. And we can tell this because the software not only timestamps, but it provides breadcrumbs as to who has went into the application. And I cannot stress enough what a bad idea this is. Number one, it says that these electronic signatures right here, it says that these are the same. These are looked at as the same as handwritten signatures. And an executive director would not forge a board signature on an actual document, on any other document. Number two, the ED already reviews this application. You guys as EDs are already signing off that you're reviewing this document. And and I'm going to be honest. So sometimes when we look at a document like 1,000 times, you don't see a glaring error that a new set of eyes would. And when you do this, when you sign off for your board chair, there are misspellings or the wrong document is attached, things that a new set of eyes would have caught. The reviewers interpret this one of 2 ways, right? So reviewers interpret this as either the board chair just signing off on it, like without reading it or reviewing it, phoning it in. That what that tells the reviewer is that they're either uninvolved or not actively participating in their oversight duties, which tells them a story, or they see it for what it is, that the ED is signing their name and that the board doesn't truly provide that governance and oversight or the required checks and balances needed of a nonprofit. So this right here, these electronic signatures, this is done in an effort to ensure the quality of your application and that silly errors don't drag your score down. So circumventing this requirement really only makes your board chair look bad, and it reduces your chances of receiving funding. So are there any questions about that? All right, so I don't hear Aaron jumping in. So if there,
Nobody is popping up with anything.
all right, so with no questions, I'm going to hand the floor back to Amber. She's going to wrap up the final review and submit process and give a couple other helpful hints, and then give you guys that final code. So I know we are right at our 12 o'clock mark, so we are going to be a little bit over, but she can wrap it up pretty quickly. And with that, Amber, you got the floor.
All right, Christy, I am going to start sharing my screen now
Okay.
so that I can go over this with you all. All right, so for the final review and submit, you are going to go into your application. And by this time, as long as you have completed all of your sections, everybody that is supposed to, you know, since there could be other staff and other people assisting with the application, providing the wrong documentation will prevent you from receiving a site visit and receiving funding. So after all the questions are answered, all of the attachments are included, it is very, very important, as Christy said, that the executive director and the board chair are required to review all of the material to ensure the accuracy and the quality of it. That means pulling up the documents and viewing them to make sure that they're not huge, to make sure they're not so tiny that you can't read it, to make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be. Once the statements and all the electronics and signatures have been provided, all of these progress bars will read 100%. You will not be able to hit this review and submit if the sections are not all completed. As you can see, you'll get the system alert. So we're going to go back down here to the application final approval, and we're going to walk through here. This is where you're going to put your training codes. This is your electronic signatures. And this is where we're going to sign off. And I'm just signing off as a fake signature because I am not going to sign anybody's name, so I'm not forging them. So you put your signatures there, and then you save and return to dashboard. And once you do that, it will bring you back to here, and you now have 100% on all of your progress bars on your dashboard. So we're going to come up here to the final review and submit. Before you do that, you're going to click that. You're going to please confirm that you have reviewed your basic needs impact fund final application. Once you hit submit, you cannot change anything. So you're going to continue to review it. You're going to look through everything and just read through everything, pull up the documents, make sure everything is correct. Before this allows you to actually submit, there is a checkbox here that you're going to have to mark off to confirm that you have reviewed your basic needs or your economic mobility final application. Before you submit, make sure to click that box after you have reviewed everything, after your board chair has reviewed everything, after everything is correct and you are absolutely positive that it is correct. Then you will be able to also print this screen or this application, which the print is right here. You'll click that and you'll be able to print it. It's very important. You need to make sure to print a hard copy of this application so that you have it for your agency's internal files. And this is where you're going to do that from. once you click that, your completed application is ready to go, and you can print that. You can click submit, and you get the application submit message saying that you have submitted. And
That's the wrong message.
oh yes, so this is not the message you're going to get. You will get the message that says that you have submitted. And now when you come back here in this corner, you're going to see that application has been submitted. And you have successfully submitted your application. You will get the message that pops up actually will say that you have now submitted your application. I'm not sure why that said that, but it will say that you have submitted it.
And right here, let me just interrupt, Amber. Right here, when you go back to my applications, you will see that your basic need final application was submitted, and here's the date. So, and you could always, just for your information, you could always come back to this dashboard and print your PDF copy.
You can also review the PDF here also. Let me see if it, and save it to your desktop or wherever by clicking on that, and it'll save a copy of it for you as well.
Yep.
And your last code is going to be 789. Again, that code is 789.
And Lily, I saw your question about the deadline. Amber, go back to your dashboard, please. And scroll down. Your deadline is always going to be on your icon. So if you notice, the deadline says 8/6/2021 at 4 p.m. Your application is due on August 6th at 4 p.m.
Okay.
So we gave everybody just a little bit longer. We know that, you know, with coming out of the pandemic, some things are happening, and we just wanted to give everybody the time that they needed to complete the applications. And once again, remember, if while you're getting in here to do these applications, if questions start popping up with staff or with you, if it's staff, refer them back to this video. This video is going to be posted onto our website. A copy of this video is going to be posted onto the website, and then have them refer to this video. And if their questions are still not answered, we are going to have 2 Q&A sessions, one on July 19th and then one on July 27th. We will have two 2-hour sessions scheduled just for questions and answers on the application submission. So if while you're filling out the application, you have questions, go ahead and jump onto our website, RSVP for one of those questions and answer sessions to get any questions you have answered. Are there any other questions that we could answer now? If not, the walkthroughs that Amber worked so hard in creating are going to be posted on our website today. The application is going to be available today. So everything is going to be available today. As soon as we break from this and it downloads, we will have it posted this afternoon. So, and of course, we are always available.
Christy, we're still having a couple of questions about the fiscal year.
Okay.
Lily would like some clarification, make sure she's got the right date. And then Jill with her fiscal year beginning on January 1st, that she should use the 2020 year in 1 year or the 2022 year.
Okay, so if the January 1st fiscal year is the normal, most agencies fall on the calendar year. So you would be filling out your current year is going to be your 2021 year. And then your for your proposed year would be your next fiscal year. That you're right on track because you're on a calendar year. So you should be using your current year you should be on your 2021 year for your
And then
fiscal.
for Leela with her fiscal year beginning today.
That was answered by Serena, and she had indicated that she should be using as her current year the last year, and then her proposed year would be the 2021 year. This coming year, as her proposed, so that her documents line up. Because
Leela, does that sound okay?
990 is done.
Leela, does that answer work for you?
If not, give me a call, Lila, and we could talk that through.
Nobody else is popping up with questions.
Awesome. Well, you guys have until August 6th. I hope everybody has a very happy and safe 4th of July, and call us if you need us. With that, I am going to end this training session.
Bye, everyone.